run it inside a Teams presentation. So I'm recording it right now. Then we can share it with everybody else, so when they have the time. So it should work within. Pop up there. I'll be done. Brad, get back to work. Would help if I plugged it in, right? So I think you can still run stuff, right?
Start this way or from that way?
Yeah, you guys can start.
Okay, so this is our robot project that we came up with. I'm Jillian.
I'm Janet. I'm Erin.
Yeah.
So the overview of the project is we're thinking about implementing 3 robots in the milking barn, and rearranging the current pens to accommodate that and also to make sure that your concerns are addressed.
The automatic milking system at anymore, so the concerns were in pen arrangements, staffing density, number of stalls available, and hospital pen milker. The effects were more coinciding with it. More efficient for cow flow, increases possible staffing density. Lactating barn stays full to prevent freezing, and there's more cow time.
And I know one of your concerns was about what do you do with employees, but we decided that there's still going to be enough to do around that the employees will stay.
This is our proposed layout. We're going to move the hospital from where it is now over to the current maternity pen, as well as having the maternity cows here as well, and switch them over to the left side there for just-in-time calving, and move the calves and hutches over to where the hospital is now, because it's closer to the bedroom with the colostrum and everything in there.
So that was the current layout, and then that's what everything is now, and then this is the lactating barn right now.
And our proposed changes, so we're going to combine pens 1 and 2, and that will consist of the 110 highest producing cows. The reason that we combined them is because we're going to lose less stalls if we combine the 2 pens versus if we kept them as separate, because you would lose those middle stalls. And then pen 3 is going to be the lowest 55 cows. The reason we did this is there's going to be more cow time. They can go on their own schedule to be milked. And this is going to lead to more availability for our employees to actually manage those cows. Again, the fewer stalls that are lost. And the reason that we put the milking cows on the south side of the barn rather than the north side is because the drops won't freeze if we put the higher producing cows on the end.
So for the hospital maternity, can kind of hit that, but the hospital will be where the maternity is now, and then more hospital, if there's a certain amount, like over 5, I think we came up with. Cows in the hospital, they'll go in the other pen, and then the maternity would be on the lower left side, and then switch them to if they need help calving, or you see them calving, you can throw them in that pen up top.
And this will still allow, because now the hospital pen will be able to go to that lower robot rather than having to chase them. You're still going to have to chase them if they don't go in, but they do have that option to go get milked.
One concern we did have with this is, are the calves, if gonna catch any disease? We don't think so, right as they are born. So if you move them out as fast as possible.
And then this is the proposed hutch layout. We figured this would be a good use of the space for the overflow, allowing them to dry before they go up to the calf barn. And it also makes it easier having them right across from the vet room, because that's where all the colostrum is and anything else that they would need. And then the bull calves have a more permanent place to be until they're sold.
advantages of the proposed layout. Pen 1 and 2 cows. Yeah, thank you. Will have relative value of over 89 pounds. That's what that means.
That's just a number.
Yeah.
Pen 3, or the current pen 4 contains cows that have a relative value of 89, or for the 55 lowest cows. The hospital pen where current maternity is, will be where current maternity is. Maternity pen where calf hutches are currently, and calf hutches are separate from maternity and hospital.
Questions?
Thoughts or concern?
Do you have any? Or would you like-
Not right now.
Yeah.
So what, as far as grouping in the barn, you're just going off relative value, like as they freshen in?
Yep, and then that's, it coincides with the 305, I mean. That's what.
Because we don't want them to have to switch pens, so we want them to stay there the entire lactation.
And the only thing that I could see with that is by going off that number, you're gonna have basically all your high cows are all gonna be together. And all your lower cows are gonna be separate. And I think you're gonna lose a lot of efficiency on that robot as far as time in between milkings. When you've got all your high cows fighting over 2 robots, they might be going in every 6 hours. Whereas in that other pen, it might be 12, 16, 18 hours in between milking. So basically you'll have 2 running nonstop with cows waiting to get in, and the other one will just be kind of hanging out there.
I mean, that's the point we can address if we move further with this, change it if we have to.
Did you look at any other ways on grouping? When you were looking
Yeah, I
at
was
stuff?
playing around with a few different ones, but that's what we decided on just because we didn't want to lose more stalls. That's why we had to combine pens 1 and 2. So we figured by combining them, they would have all of our high cows wouldn't be on one robot. They would have 2 to choose from.
Because when we first looked at it, having those pens separate, it was too concentrated in one pen for all of the cows, the high cows. It just would have overloaded the robot.
So where that says 8 stalls, that's where the robots will be, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna lose 16 stalls along the wall?
Yep.
Plus.
Plus the middle one,
Plus 3.
3 in the
plus
middle.
3 there. So what's that leave for total stalls in there like that? There's 53, 56 now. 109 minus 19 is 90.
For 110 cows, but like they're not gonna all be in a slug like they would in the parlor. They're not all gonna go lay down at the same time
Right.
and then also go eat at the same time.
Yeah, because you can overstock more with robots.
Yeah, I don't think crowding would be any issue as far as putting those together. You'd still
It's
need,
the interval,
what's that?
number of cow milkings per day.
You'd still need some gating as far as catching cows for sorting out and locking up.
Just for the record, what are the other ways you thought about doing that you didn't think were as good as this one? Give me your reasons for that. Just getting it on record.
I think we had toyed with the idea of putting all the high cows in pen 3. But that's what we ran into the robots. And we ran
Right.
a lot more than the other 2.
And we also decided to, we didn't decide, but we came up with the idea of just combining 1 and 2 as they are now, keeping the fresh pen, but also taking like the lower 15 cows.
But then you run into that issue that once they're, 2 months in, you have to move to the other robot and you don't want to have to move them during lactation.
And just keeping that pen full enough to where it, the other robots wouldn't be over capacity with that one still being used enough for it to be worth it.
Our biggest thing with going with this was just because we didn't want to have to move cows during our lactation. So we figured that this was the best way to do that to avoid moving.
Any other thoughts you'd like to get on the record?
Do you have any concerns with what our plan was for maternity in the hospital and those things?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough room for all that there. Those pens where the calves are now are only big enough for about 1 cow. The other ones, we've had 5 on each side. That's pretty full for any kind of length of time. So we're kind of tight over there. It just seems kind of like a lot of wasted space having the calves over in that other one.
We talked about leaving the hospital over there, but we just thought that it would be too much for them to walk all the way down
Well,
to
the
that.
reason that we moved the hospital at least down to where the maternity is so that they can access that robot when they want to, rather than having to fetch them, but.
Yeah, I would think, the way it's kind of looking like it's gonna shape up is I would take that whole. Yeah, so where our maternity is now, I would take that whole area for hospital cows. And then take the whole hospital pen for maternity cows. And at that point, you can put the calves wherever you want, you can put them in the holding area, you can put them in that little cubby room, you can put them in the back room if it's cold out, you can go anywhere. Cause you're not gonna have regular cow traffic anywheres on that whole side past the hospital at that point. You could even put them in the laneway there, one of those laneways. So you're saying with your hospital cows that they'll basically have that laneway right down to the robot?
Mhm.
And then, so you're figuring on having sort gate on it? Is that how that's gonna work? Yeah. I don't know if they'd free flow in there down the laneway and back or not. I imagine
Probably not at the beginning.
They'd probably still be fetch cows, but I do like having them having the option. Whether it works or not, it doesn't matter. You're still gonna have to get some of them.
Right.
And if you have like the one cow we had, I don't remember her number. She was always in the hospital pen. If you had chronic cows like that that lived in the hospital, they would get used to doing it and then you wouldn't have to do those cows.
Maybe even teach the other ones, right?
Have a trainer cow.
There you go. Judas cow.
Have one of those dog clickers, but
Anything else you want to add? Any other questions you want to ask Brad while he's here?
Do you think the best use for the parlors for those calves? The whole area?
It's a use. I don't really know if there is bad use for it, because once you're not looking in there, it's just there space. You can do whatever you want to do.
because we were also not for part of the project necessarily, because we were more focused on the pens, but we were talking about it maybe becoming a classroom of some kind if it got filled in.
suggested.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad to close off where the curtain is and seal that up a little bit. Yeah, I guess I don't know what the best use of it would be. Having the option to do whatever it needs to do.
Anything else? Let's thank Brad for coming out, taking a moment to help us out.